wants to tame me. You can't catch me on the run, cause I'm gone, yeah. I blaze trails, set fire to what's behind me. No, I'm never looking back, I'm on the run. I could only ever be what I'm made to be. It feels good when I'm living on the edge. Watch me now, roll like thunder, gonna sacred ground. Can't stop me now, I don't give up and I won't back down. I'm a force of nature, can't be contained. I got lightning running all through my veins. Watch me now, watch me now.
Hi, I'm Wyatt Milam. I'm from Canova, West Virginia. When I'm back home, you'll find me at my local Par-Mar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Par-Mar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Par-Mar app and sign up for the Par-Mar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Par-Mar stores.
If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon.
Northern Eagle Distributing, proudly serving Anheuser-Busch products to West Virginia.
Hey craft beer lovers, excited for the WVU versus Penn State game on September 2nd? Well, then head on over to the Pallet Bar for an exclusive live pregame show with the WolfMan's Call.
Get ready to dive into plays, team analysis, and everything football. Sip craft beer and soak in game insights, the perfect game day combo.
And that's not all. Our wide range of 24 craft beers on tap will elevate your experience, as most of them are from West Virginia breweries. We also offer non-alcoholic beverages, seltzers, domestic beers, canned beers, wine, an amazing food menu, buckets, flights, and so much more.
Mark your calendars, craft beer, football chat, and good vibes. See you at the Pallet.
Boom! Back to you, Wolfman. Cheers.
Yeah, you can hear that. That's what's coming. That's what's waiting. That's what the Mountaineers are going to be headed to, man, coming this Saturday. Yeah, it's coming, man. Game day's coming. And, boy, I tell you what, we got a show for you today, because what's coming today for you is some really cool stuff. We got covered to that. We got Jeff Davies, CEO. He's coming out with this. He just created this whole advanced analytics, and when he says Moneyball for the masses, I love it. I love it. I love it. And then we're going to have Big John Ray, the largest Mountaineer ever. I hope he can fit on there. Like, he's got like this huge cranium head. I hope he can fit on the screen. And then, of course, we're going to have Tony Altimore talking a whole bunch of Pac-12 stuff going on. You know he knows. He's got all the inside info, man. So it's a big day here. We got time permitting. We'll break down some more RPO, run, pass, option, and maybe a tiny bit more of Neil Brown press conference. But so Emma and Haley there, the Pallet Bar, Saturday, 6 o'clock. We are kicking off the broadcast for the WolfMan's Call Network. Yes, that's going to be an exciting time. And then, of course, the West Virginia Voice of College Football Network. So it's a network-only thing. It's not going on Twitter. It's not going on Facebook. It's only on the Voice of College Football Network, on YouTube, and with the WolfMan's Call Restaurant and Bar Network. All right, man, that's so cool. Welcome, everybody. What a great day to be a Mountaineer, because the beginning of the season, we love our Mountaineers, and we're ready to go. Gonna have to fight a dog, man. It's gonna be dog eat dog. And this next, or first guest, I should say, Jeff Davies, CEO of Cover 2 Data. Well, I think you're gonna find out that this Penn State team has some good quality to it, but he may give you a surprise or two by the numbers. Hello, Jeff. How you doing?
Good, man. Wolfman, appreciate you having me on. Glad to chat, and hope we can create kind of a partnership here and go over data, go over plays, see how the advanced stats line up with what you're seeing on the field.
Yeah, that's what's cool about it, Jeff, is we've been promoting this and trying to figure out how we could go ahead and combine what we have together, meaning so when we come down to game day, it's taking your advanced analytics, my maybe advanced cranium head brain power of my wisdom and knowledge of football and putting it with the film. And so we could create a balance with all three of them, put them together. We might be come up with some good ideas and maybe give some good education out there, and the people out there can be the smartest guy in the room and maybe use it to their advantage as well.
No doubt. That's our plan. Just to give the super quick backdrop on Cover 2. So we're based out of Houston, Texas. Really kind of a startup, right? It's myself and a handful of college students that my daughter and a handful of friends that we decided we wanted to highlight the software that I had built for another business. We came across the college football advanced data set that we had access to. So we kind of came forward with a plan to turn that into easy to consume charts, graphs, and other ways to understand, kind of the advanced analytics, right? We can all see what we see on the field, but it's also great to say, hey, I think my team's got a better offensive line than your team. I can prove it with the advanced data, right? Or if I'm looking as a bettor perhaps, or as a coach perhaps, to look to get a edge on, where we have strengths, where we have weaknesses, I think the advanced data shows you that basically. So we're trying to take that data, turn it into a fashion with really kind of easy to consume data visualizations that everybody can kind of understand it, get it, and know how it relates to their team and how their team might do this game in this season.
Yeah, what's really cool too is you're doing this for all Power Fives right now. I mean, who knows where that's going to head down the road? But this is such a startup time for you that you're just hitting the Power Fives. I mean, it is like, wow, man. Oh, it just keeps blasting across. You go to Substack there. Tell us how you get to Substack and get all that info.
Yeah, so the site is actually, appreciate you saying that. Site's www.cover2data.com. So that will take you to kind of the Power 5 site. And then the way it'll work is there's 5 other sites, one for each Power 5 team. So, what you'll get as a subscriber to each Power 5 Power 5 conference is, one up to all of the team data that we put out. That's game previews, that's game summaries, that's season stats, all advanced stats. And then, we'll push out also conference level data, who's got the best success rates, who's got the best predicted points added, defense, offense, et cetera, as well as player usage, player kind of predicted points added, also advanced statistics at that conference level. So you'll really be getting team conference stuff at each conference site, team conference stuff across all Power 5. And then at the Power 5 kind of Cover 2 data site, we'll aggregate all that data into really Power 5 rankings, which we will tie to the top 25 as well. Let's see how that ranks top 25 ranks relative to what the advanced data says.
So you know what? You really can't lie because you're going to go ahead, you're going to compare it, you're going to put the numbers up and see how it correlates to the actual outcomes. And that's what's cool about it because, on this show, man, all we do is try to tell you the truth and give you the real deal. So with that being said, brother, let's rock and roll here. And when you say here, it's Wolfman Cover 2, the Betline Blitz, and it says, no betting advice intended or given by Cover 2 data. You're just providing the data and telling you what the numbers say, correct?
Yeah, I think everybody's got a mosaic, let's call it, of, hey, these are the kind of variables I think about when I think about who's going to win or what the point spread's going to be or maybe the over-under. We're just adding another one of those. But we can also identify, hey, maybe there's some outliers based on our data as well.
Absolutely. All right. So the first thing we have here, of course, is your stat sheet, the number 2 page. Now listen. All right. So you're providing all this information, intro to advanced stats, and again, we're going to add this with what I say. There may be, if I make a call on this, say this is what I would do. Remember, it's what I would do because whatever you do is on you. And with that, I would go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead and give us the success rate, baby.
Yeah, so I mean, success rate is really a efficiency rate. So offensive and defensively can be calculated on, what percentage of plays do you get at least 50% of the yards on first down, at least 70% of the remaining yards on second down, and then get a first down on third down and fourth down. So of course, if you have a high success rate, you're going to move the ball down the field. And likewise, if you have a low success rate defensively, you're going to stop people from moving the ball down the field. And you can net those out as well and say, hey, this team's got a really good offense and defense. Compare those things statistically. The next one's predicted points added. So what you can do super quickly is mathematically, probabilistically say, hey, based on your down distance and yardage over time, over all the plays that have been run from that down distance and yardage, here's the predicted points, right? And you can do that for every spot on the field. So you can start to calculate on a team and player basis, each play, what were the predicted points and what did you end up with, and start to subtract the two basically and determine whether you're outperforming or kind of underperforming. It's kind of an explosiveness metric. Havoc is a metric that basically tells you, offensively and defensively, how many tip passes do you get, QB hurries do you get, broken up passes by the DBs, interceptions, sacks, etc. And then usage, just kind of a player metric. How many plays are you involved with? So this is just a subset of the data. We have a bunch of other metrics, but that's just an idea of it's different than your average box score.
Oh, yeah.
So, what you have on the screen now, we're kind of just, plotting, hey, these are the lines for this week. And based on, so for each team, you can take, hey, here's my offensive success rate, defensive success rate. So we use a couple things called net, which is like we're netting the team and netting the team, right? And then comparing them to the lines. So this is what we're plotting here. So somebody like a West Virginia, just based on the advanced stats, which are based on last year's team, right? This will get better as we go on throughout time this season, as we get this season's data. But, somebody like a West Virginia should be getting fewer points, quite frankly, for how they compare to Penn State, right? So, and as you, dig into the data, the reason for that is their offense doesn't really look that bad relative to Penn State's offense. Their defense looks bad relative to Penn State's defense, right? So somebody like a go ahead.
But excuse me, let me interrupt you. But that's what you got off the stats. You haven't even watched the game against West Virginia or that they played last year. You got that off the stats that their defense had a bad season.
Yeah, that's correct, and I'll show you that as well. It's one of the worst defensive seasons WVU's had in the last decade. One of the top 3 worst. So
absolutely.
Somebody like Florida. To me, I would take a Utah given 6 over Florida. Florida should be getting more points. Again, this stuff gets really hard with the transfer portal and all of these changes that, us old people aren't accustomed to.
Right.
Because you're using certainly the first week or first couple of weeks using last year's data. And there's so many changes, right? But based on last year's data, Utah should win that game by more than 6, right?
Okay.
Let's go. So the Big 12, the next slide there is, what we show is, like I said, these are the conference lines. We do this for every conference. We're going to break down who they're playing, what the line is, what the over-under is, what the money line is. Then our net over to the right is basically the PPA and the success rate. Again, that success rate is each team. Let me see how efficient your offense and defense are and compare them versus the other team. And then we're kind of comparing these versus the lines. Same thing with the predicted points added metric, offense, defense versus offense, defense. So we net them and then net them a second time. So when you think about this slide here, you really should have the highest point spread at the top, right? So somebody like a Colorado really should be getting more points. But as we all know, it's, hey, that's the first week. I mean, they've completely changed their lineup. But if you were to go on just the advanced stats from last year, you would take TCU, right? And given 21 for sure, I think.
Okay, so what do you take with West Virginia, Penn State, looking at this?
Yeah, so West Virginia, Penn State, looking at this, like I said, I think it sticks out a little bit in that, West Virginia, I think, isn't that out of line from success rate. Let's see here. Houston's much worse in their game. Let's put it that way, right? So, like on a net success rate, Houston's worse. They're getting 1.5 points, right? And then West Virginia's getting 20.5 points, right? So, just on a relative basis, that looks like a good relative bet to me that West Virginia's offense was statistically just about as good as Penn State's offense last year. I didn't watch a single game. I don't know if that is true or not. The defenses are much different, right? And Penn State's defense was the best defense last year in all of Power 5 from a havoc perspective, from how many kind of, QB hurries, QB rushes, deflected passes in the backfield, et cetera, et cetera. So, Penn State's going to have a chance for a lot of big plays if they continue to play that way. Yeah, so go a couple slides down. If you go a couple slides down to the last row there, that's West Virginia, Penn State. Go up one for me real quick. So again, you look at the offensive stats on the last line there. I doubt many people can probably read that, but what I'll call out on that is West Virginia and Penn State from a rushing yard per game last year were pretty similar. Penn State had about 30 yards per game passing. West Virginia had a bit more turnovers per game, right? But you look at the offensive success rates. West Virginia was actually better than Penn State last year. Defensive success rate is where they got smoked, right? So if you go to the next slide, this is where this will kind of highlight those things where this is this is WV over the last decade. If you look at that far right chart, that's their offensive success rate, right? So that is kind of the best it's been since, let's call it 2018, pretty good historically, offensively. So again, how efficient is the offense? Can they move the ball? Can they keep the chains moving? Pretty decent year. Again, so for everybody involved here, I'm a Syracuse fan. So a lot of WVU matchups over the years. Been a while though, right? I don't know what happened in 2019. Been a few years since I've followed WVU, but looks like 2019 was a horrible year offensively. And then if you go to the next slide, 2019 was a horrible year defensively as well, right? So, but if you look at the next slide, the defensive success rates, if you look at last year, you want this rate to be, go back up one. You want that rate to be low relative to the remaining years, right? So you want to be holding your offensive opponents to a low success rate. So 43.5% last year, outside of 2019, 2018, that's the worst year in a decade, basically, for WVU. So just from an efficient
it proved outright. So those stats are proven outright.
Yes, I mean it is. So, and then if you go to the next slide there, that you can net these out, right, from an offensive and defensive perspective. So really, when you look at how good is our offense moving the ball versus how good is our defense stopping people from moving the ball, which is on the next slide, the net success rate, 2022, last year, we kind of advanced stats. And again, you're the WVU fan, not me, would say it was kind of like the second worst year in the last 10. right? From how they kind of perform, so to speak. And 2019 again looks like a disaster, right?
Yeah, I can see that. There's a dip. All right.
So
Let's keep it moving.
So then you go to the historical. We'll just breeze through that. The PPA, the offensive PPA. Again, it looks decent, right? So that's all that is there to say about that. They continue to get better from 2019 and look okay historically. If you go to the next slide, which has got the defensive havoc rates, this is where things kind of tail off, right? It's going to be the next slide after the one I see there. This is where the front seven really wasn't getting much rush, wasn't getting much push, not, again, I didn't watch games, right? But it would look like they weren't getting to the quarterback, and then the DBs weren't doing much either, right? So historically had much more, interceptions, tip passes, much more in the lines of sacks and tackles.
They didn't have any havoc. You're right, Jeff. West Virginia did not have a havoc last year in the defense. It's just the way it is. The truth is, and your stats absolutely show that. As opposed to what about Penn State?
Yeah, so the next one shows Penn State, right? So this is, let's walk into the game that we're facing this week. It's Penn State's coming into this year with the number one defensive havoc team, which again, that is how much are we getting at the QB? How much are we intercepting, knocking down passes, tackles for losses? So, best in the country. And, that's spread pretty darn equally too. So they're both talented in the front seven and talented in the defensive backfield. What are we looking at? More than double what, WVU's from a DB havoc perspective.
Yeah.
So we can summarize all this stuff though in the next slide and just kind of show, hey, what do we think about Penn State versus WVU, this week, and just highlight who's better than who. And we kind of do that with the logos that you see there. And obviously, as you would expect, Penn State is in aggregate, most of these categories better than WVU. You would expect that going in this game.
Right.
Penn State's at home. But I still think when I look at these stats, the offensive stats are pretty darn good in West Virginia's favor, quite frankly. Kind of half and half, pretty mixed. So I think they can stay within 20.5 points, personally. But we'll see. That's what the data would suggest.
So you're saying right now the data suggests, all right? It's not what you are saying. The data suggests that this bet or the betting line, 20.5 points, is that West Virginia can be in there, can compete off of last year's data.
Yes. And that's, again, that part of that is looking at their line versus summing up versus our metrics versus other lines. So it kind of stands out that, hey, that's, one that WVU should be maybe getting 16, 17, 18 points, So let's put it that way, right?
Yep. That's
so. But again, I'm coming at this from the perspective of haven't paid attention to all of the teams and the transfer moves and who's come in, who's come out, et cetera, and certainly understand how tough it is to play in Happy Valley and how tough Penn State is.
Right.
But it looks like WVU has been able to move the ball last year. So if they have,
they have an offensive line that's returning and they can run the ball. So, absolutely.
So, the big thing I think for them is going to be turnovers, right? To kind of take care of the ball, and it'll be a relatively close game. That's my opinion.
And the havoc line for Penn State, it better be not good. Instead of being good.
For sure. For
not
sure.
Good. All right. Okay. So what else we got? So you got anything else you want to talk about real quick here about how you got these one-page bettors here looking at Houston and how?
I look at something like I'll go through these super quick. We can do a kind of flash through, and we can kind of end it with whatever questions you have. But I look at a Houston, and Houston's getting 1.5 versus I didn't even know UT San Antonio had a team until a few years ago, I guess. So but you look at the advanced stats, and it really suggests that they should be getting points from them. It is at, UT San Antonio. So of course, home team kind of gets 3 points or so, but, UT San Antonio's got the better defense across the board all last year, it looks like, and offensively, right in line. And so you look at just kind of glance at this across most of the metrics we track, UT San Antonio is better. So we'll see what happens. It's really tough to rely on advanced stats that, kind of first game coming off of all the transfers we see these days. But that's the thought there. Colorado is the next one. What I'd say real quick in Colorado, I'd take TCU, given, again, I think 20.5 points to Colorado. And, the only reason Colorado's that close is because of all the changes they've had. Probably be pretty tough to gel that quickly, in my opinion, but we'll see. But, based on the advanced stats, like TCU should smoke these guys based on last year. Now, TCU outperformed, as we all know, last year, but based on the advanced stats, that's my thought there. Florida State, LSU, I'd probably take LSU here. It's pretty close, but again, just at a quick glance.
That's tight, man. When you talk about that, it's at Florida State, right?
Yeah, it's at Florida State. Florida State's at home, and getting kind of 1.5, right? I believe so. And again, this is a really tight game, right? Like this is tight across the board. Florida State's a little bit worse defense. LSU's better defensively across the board and better offensively across most advanced stats, right? So I'd take LSU based on the advanced stats.
And the cool thing about this, Jeff, is that they got both their quarterbacks back, which are both very good quarterbacks. So that this actually could go in line. Even though it was last year's, we'll have to see about this. I'm going to keep my eye on this. This is going to be good here.
Florida State, used to be so good all the time. So we'll see if they can get back to that. So the next one, North Carolina. I mean, I'd take North Carolina, given 2.5. I think they look good, at home versus South Carolina. And then the last one I'd highlight. I mean, this kind of highlights to me this. This data as we go through the season. I mean, you look at this one, right? Utah is on every statistic, based on how we kind of highlight it with their logos there, better than Florida across the board. So at home, based on the advanced statistics, I'm taking Utah on tonight's game for sure. I think they beat them by more than 6.
Sweet, man. I'll tell you what, I like it. And this is just cool stuff, man. And we're getting into this. We're figuring this out. And, just trying to see, obviously, data isn't always right, but it can help you. The idea is to help you. And I think that's what we're trying to do is help. When you take expertise, you take the knowledge, put it with my film breakdown, my expertise. Man, hopefully we can get some good stuff cranking here, huh?
Yeah, no doubt. I'm excited to see you tie the advanced statistics to the film breakdown as well. I think that's really interesting. And, like you said, the data isn't always right, but it kind of is another input into your process, another input into kind of your thought process as it relates to how you think about games. And, listen, you might not be a bettor. Maybe you're a rabid fan, you're a huge fan, and you want to win, kind of an argument with your buddy who's down the street, and you want to use that advanced data to say, I know my line's better. Look at this data, right? So there's a lot of different uses for it.
Well, there's absolutely, and I am excited about this, and I can't wait to incorporate this into the Saturday's pregame. And it's cool. All these stats, I mean, again, no one's saying that, stats are 100% correct all the time. It takes out, and especially from last year. So there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of transfers, as you said. And that's the disclaimer now. But as we move on this season, you're going to see it get a little bit tighter and tighter and tighter because you're going to see the advanced stats of this team moving along, and then they stay consistent. Am I correct?
Yes. I mean, there are things you can correlate, right? Again, it might not happen that week, but if you were to bet the same way over time, hey, this statistics correlates to beating the spread, or this statistic correlates to beating the over-under, right? So we're going to try to highlight those things. We're going to try to highlight, hey, these things have had a tendency to, correlate to this team beating the spread, or these two teams combining with these types of offensive efficiency beating the over-under. That's what we're trying to highlight. It's not always going to work, of course, right? If there was any way to do that in life, I'd be on the beach somewhere, not talking to you, of course, right? But
I'd try to join.
The data is great to have. I'm excited to kind of partner up with you. I would highlight again www.cover2data.com. Check it out. Free to sign up. You get a lot of free stuff. The conference stuff. The conference statistics will be what they will be, right? So. Hey, if WVU is the worst defensively, you're going to see it in the advanced stats. If they're really good offensively, kind of where the rushing yards are coming from. We have a data set that breaks down rushing, whether it's, it should be attributed to the line, should be attributed to the second level, somebody breaking through the second level, or somebody really being explosive and attributing rushing yards to the open field, right? So you can kind of see, hey, are we just a team that can kind of only do a couple yards here and there, 3 yards at a time? Do we have explosive backs? How do we compare to other teams? All that comes out in that advanced data.
All right. You got it, man. Cover2data.com. Jeff Davies, CEO. Really, really fired up in this. We're going to check it out. Hey, man, we put ourselves out there, just telling you the way it is, telling you the truth, giving you the straight of the numbers. Thank you very much, Jeff. We will talk to you real soon, man.
Appreciate it, Wolf, man. Have a great first weekend.
Yep, we'll try, bud. All right, take care now. We'll see you
later.
Yep. All right, Jeff Davies, CEO of Cover2 Data. I'll tell you what, man, it's learning about to have Penn State's defense, the #1 havoc rate. It shows it. Doesn't lie. All those players have returned. 9 out of 11. Doesn't lie. All right. Well, let's see what we got here. I'm looking here. Johnny Ray, give me a thumbs up if you're ready, buddy. You ready? Oh, man, I'll tell you what. Unbelievable. Here we go. What's up, Johnny?
Hey.
What you doing, buddy?
Not on the patio, enjoying the day.
Sit on the patio, enjoy the day. All right. Well, it looks like your patio is your mouth is not moving, but we can hear you pretty good. So, how you doing?
Good. Going real good.
Oh, good. Well, listen, I got something for you. This is a surprise. I want to throw this at you because I know this is important. This is important to Mountaineer Nation that knows your boy Dylan. Check it out, brother.
He just plays the game like it's supposed to be played. Like he just plays through the whistle and he plays tough. He doesn't, we talk about all the time, not taking crap off of anybody. And we always say the defense will do as much as you allow them to do. If you're going to continue to let them put their hands in their face, they're going to continue to put their hands in their face. If you continue to let them, push the running backs, and it's our job to police that as offensive linemen. I think Dylan kind of has that little chippiness to him that he doesn't take crap off people, and he's a guy that our guys respect a lot, and he's earned that respect, this whole summer and this fall training camp.
This is
well, that's pretty special there, Johnny Ray, and I just wanted everybody to know that cares about Dylan and know about it because we're all family here, brother. See him at Kentucky, tough situation he left at. He left without a scholarship. He got a scholarship in Kentucky. And right now he's in the mix of it. So congratulations, and put out a tweet yesterday to D-Ray. I just want to make sure he knows how much we care about him, man.
I appreciate that.
Family is family, brother. It always stays that way. Mountaineer family. So, and speaking of which now, is I want to get right to this and talking about Mountaineer mentality. Johnny Ray, all right? Are you under 400 pounds yet or no?
No, not even close.
All right. So, Johnny Ray, let me ask you this, man. I remember we talked about Mountaineer mentality in our time. What is Mountaineer?
You know what, Wolf? You got to start the whole my weight. I'll start talking. Sounds about like you.
Well, if you recall, they didn't have a scale big enough, so they had to take over towers, and to put you on the meat scale.
No, Wolf stories here. I mean, because tell, buddy, we can go, Toad.
Oh, I'm glad you got that umbrella over here. Keep that sun on because we wouldn't want you to sweat, lose any weight. All right. So bottom line, man, in all goodness and truthness, Mountaineer mentality. What is it to you, Johnny Ray?
You know, it told Dylan, and he's went down there and done that. He's did. You know, I told him when you approach the game, you respect the game. You earn me. If you can do that and do your job to play, you know, playoff chips fall where they fall. You know, but guys respect, and that's all anybody can ask. Just get after it.
Yeah, just get after it. Johnny Ray, I'll tell you what, go ahead, sign out, man. Just sign back in for me because you're breaking up. All right, we'll just keep going here with Johnny Ray. I want to tell you a story real quick. You know, he's out. Johnny Ray is definitely one of the largest mountaineer ever in the history of WVU. At 6'10", he was 6'9.5", whatever. Who could measure all the way up there, anyways? And he came in and he had to go ahead and lose some weight. Johnny Ray has always been proportionate, but Coach Dalen used to always like to dig him. And I'm not kidding you. They literally had to go ahead. There you go. It looks better. Much better. Yeah, much better, Johnny. But let me finish the story. So Coach Dalen had to go ahead and weigh him, but they couldn't weigh him with the scales at the stadium. So we had to take, not me, they had to take him, Hal Johnson, and he went to the strength staff, and they weighed him on the meat truck or the meat scale, man. Like at Towers, they brought in food to measure it. That's not a lie. Johnny, what do you say about that, Johnny?
That's not a true story, Wolf.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, the same thing is that your floor and your mobile home trailer didn't break either.
The lie, because you always had to ask me.
All right, man. So Mountaineer mentality, talking about being physical, being nasty. Do you see that from this offensive line, Johnny?
Oh, absolutely. I think some veteran guys there that, you know, teams under their belt, they know what's expected and what they got to do. Do fine. You know, yeah. Everybody wants to talk about, you know, the greatest in that. There's some guys that's got a little more talent than others. You know, when you go line up, you're all in there in the weight room, work. You just line up and go.
Yeah. Johnny, let me ask you this, okay? Zach Frazier, how good is he?
I think, I think that the leverage and the strength and just how smart he was. Dylan was all IQ. You know, he studies. And you have to, being a center, be the quarterback in the line. But you know, stands out, raised him on, and he helped Dylan quite a bit.
Yep. All right, no doubt. Okay, Johnny. Well, listen, buddy. I don't know if you can hear me now. We're breaking up here, man. So I'm sorry, man, but I'm gonna have to ask you one more time to go out and then come back in. All right.
Put on my phone.
All right. There you go. I don't know what he was on, but anyways, hang on. Just hang on, because Johnny Ray is cool. Look at that. We got green bars. All right. Are you good now or what? It went to green to red. Oh, my. You know what he did? So there he is out there on his porch. All right. Maybe you need to go into your house, dog. Anyways, Johnny Ray. So, again, we'll take a look at that. We'll see if he comes back here in a second. But the story is Johnny Ray. Let me tell you something. At 6'9.5", Johnny Ray was the largest dude. Now, he was the right tackle. I was right guard. And you know who was the center with me? Was Mike Compton. Well, Mike Compton's only 6'7". All right, only. And so I'm 6'2". I am the valley in between the two mountain peaks. Okay, you had Johnny Ray, 6'9.5". You had Mike Compton at 6'7", and then you had, of course, Wah at 6'2". Now I was as wide as I was tall, man. I mean, I used to be yoked out there with the shoulders. And when I lined up with them, they used to say, "There's the valley, man. There's the valley." They used to call me Shorty because they were so tall. Regardless, Johnny Ray, man, Dylan Ray, he went ahead and left WVU because he did. I want to tell you, I want to give him the fullest respect. He wanted, he loved WVU, but when there's a scholarship there and and you want that scholarship and you're going in debt as a walkout, people know when you have to pay for your own way. It just, Dylan's like, hey, man, I'm going to go get my own way paid for. I'm not going to go ahead and keep going in debt. So I appreciate that. So let's go ahead. Wait for Johnny here. It says here, well, let's see what we got. Anybody here have anything to say? Go ahead. Oh, Lions, Penn State stocked all kinds of junk about WVU. I hope our boys see more fuel. Okay. So you're saying is that the Penn State is talking a whole bunch of crap. Well, I'll tell you what. I was on a radio show today, and I'm going to tell you this. Penn State and the people Penn State, all right, they're pretty confident they're going to win this game, and maybe they should be. I mean, you just heard from Advanced Stats from Cover 2 data, I should say, last year that they were the number one defense in all of college football. All of college football. That is a challenge to go up there and to do so. But he also said with WVU, and Garrett Green was involved in some of that offense, and Nico was involved in some of that offense. And that the running, and you have an offensive line that knows how to run. And, that's the truth of it. So it's all pretty cool. And let's see. All right, Johnny Ray saying his Wi-Fi is all screwed up. That figures get a guy who's 6'9.5". He cannot figure out if he can get his Wi-Fi going. So what we'll do from there. I'm sorry we missed that with Johnny because that would have been a great conversation. But we will go. This is what I do. So I'm going to go right to this and to the Neil Brown press conference. So let's hear a couple more things from Coach Neil Brown. I'll tell you about what I think. Let's see here. Where are we at here?
Yeah, we need those guys. In mostly all of them are.
You got out. He's done what you wanted. Are they factors right away?
Yeah, so I think all of them, but one or two will probably be a real factor in the game. Several of them will get their first start with us, and so, we need those guys. In mostly all of them are veterans. And so they've played in venues like we're going to go play at. And so they've got to be able to handle those elements. And our assumption for a Devin Carter, for a Beanie Bishop, it's not going to be too big for them. They've played in big moments, and we feel like they'll be able to excel in those type of situations.
All right. Beanie Bishop, yeah, well, it's his 6th year, right? I mean, he was 4 or 5 years at Western Kentucky, and Garrett, Minnesota, added COVID to that, so now he's got this year. I bet you he's been in the picture there. So I think he's going to play a little bit more than anybody's been talking about. We'll see him at that corner. Obviously, Penn State, right? They have some skill there. They have a guy. I'll tell you, there's one guy that I will talk about at Penn State when I look at it, and it's Keandre Lambert-Smith. Now, he had a great Rose Bowl, and he came on strong towards the end. If you saw him against Ohio State last year, very, very strong wide receiver. But we're going to see our DBs. We're going to have to match them up when we think about it. And I want to see this. I mean, literally, I want to know if Beanie Bishop is ready. I want to know. Let's hope he is for the big time. Now, he played at Minnesota. He didn't start, but he did get some big reps there. So that's good news. And then you got the Montre Miller and Andrew Wilson-Lamp on the other side. And the receivers are, besides for Kegler, there's not a whole lot of, they got the transfer for Kent State, Cephas, and he's won, and he's got some yardage there. But, Power 5, that's not what we're talking about. So maybe Montre Miller actually knows how to defend them because, right, they were teammates there. Looks like everybody left Kent State, and I like it. Hey, you talk about Devin Carter, receiver, NC State, big moments. I don't know if there's any big moments right now because this is the biggest crowd that you have Saturday football. I mean, NC State's been good, but I mean, when you talk about big moments, and what about the young guys? Woo! I'm telling you, it's going to be a challenge just in getting over the excitement in the crowd. I've had Mountaineer brother after Mountaineer brother come on and tell you that today, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years later or 30 years, whatever it's been since they played at Penn State, they remember it because it had that type of impression on them. So that's cool. I mean, this is exciting. If you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. If you want to be the team, you got to beat the team, right? It goes on for everything. Let's check out what we got here as well. Let's keep it going. We're moving.
I always talk about this when you play on NBC or ABC or CBS. I always think about my grandparents' house in Gravel Switch, Kentucky. You got bunny ears, you get those games, So it's like if anybody out in the sticks in West Virginia still has bunny ears, like they can get NBC, And some of you young guys in this room don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. So, but anytime you play on national television, it's an opportunity. And people talk all the time, hey, what a challenge! You're starting with Penn State. Yeah, it's true. But it is what it is, and it's up to us to make the most of it. And so it's a great opportunity. This is why you get in the profession. This is why you want to play big time football. And
well, you know what? He's right in a lot of ways, and I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know in his 5th year at the spot he's in if he wants Penn State at this point. Now, Penn State 5 years, 6 years ago, well, you know what? That's a different story. This, unfortunately, is some bad timing. But I'll tell you this, is that he's right. This is opportunity. You're on national TV. Hey, every player on offense, whether it be 2D, 3D, whatever it is, every player in defense, all right, every player on special teams, this is your chance on national TV to shine. Again, when I tell you, you're going into Happy Valley at nighttime and a crowd, and Urban Meyers, you heard Jay Paterno yesterday on the show say that Urban Meyers said that a night crowd at Penn State is louder than an LSU crowd, which he thought was the loudest stadium in the country, which I tend to agree. And, with the whiteout, it's going to be cool, man. Let's just face it, it's going to be cool for the Mountaineers. Now, with all that being said, we just had on Cover 2 data and saying that, hey, the numbers suggest, now this is off of last year's numbers, but it suggests that West Virginia can hang within 20.5 points. It suggests that. Well, I'll give you my final pick and what I think at the pregame at the Pallet there on Saturday from 6 to 7 on Network. But again, is the data shows that West Virginia can 20.5 points. That's 3 touchdowns. Maybe they can say, maybe Drew Allar. All right, maybe he's not going to be all that ready to go. Can the defense stop the running game? That's what the key is going to be. If the running game is, and I go back to yesterday, it's about first down. So who wins first down? If it's Penn State on the WVU defense and they're getting first down and they're having their choice of plays at second and medium or second and short on a consistent basis, that's going to be a real problem for the Mountaineers. Now, if you flip that and say, hey, offensively, the Mountaineers getting that on their defense, I mean, you can go ahead and you can come in and make things work. And when you do that, you got a game. You can compete. Now, if you don't and they just start grinding and they start doing it, then it can fall apart real fast, and 3 touchdowns won't even seem near enough. So we'll keep going. We got Tony Altimore coming on up here at 5 o'clock hours. So we'll go ahead and keep going.
I know you are going to name the quarterback today, but any comments on any of the other open position battles in terms of returner?
Nah, because and the reason I'm not getting into it a whole lot, they don't have a depth chart, so I'm like, might as well. You know, everybody that you know is gonna play. I'll tell you that. Like everybody that y'all think might play, they're gonna play. You know, that's about as good as a good a view as I can.
Well, everybody that you think is gonna play is gonna play. All right, I kind of like that. That's not bad. You know, think about it. Okay, so depth chart. James Franklin doesn't want a depth chart. Neil Brown doesn't want a depth chart. I think that sucks. All right, but you know, neither one's named. They still haven't officially. Now it's like the worst kept secret about Allard being the starter, but they have not officially named him the starter as well. So they're playing these games here. I think that the coaches are all going to say, yeah, you know what? We think that it's going to be Garrett Green, you know, and I think that they're going to think it's Drew Allard. But all this here, you know who's going to play. Listen, man, there's been a two deep. They've had a two deep going into camp. They've had a two deep since spring ball. Okay, there's going to be very few changes. I think it's a little silly about not coming out with a depth chart. That's just my opinion. We'll see what happens.
Because actually we did talk last week, and you actually mentioned that you maybe would have a better answer this week.
Give me a position.
Gallagher versus Traylon Ray.
Yep. And so Traylon's playing outside. Gallagher's going to play inside. They'll both play in the game. I think it'll go. Traylon's been sick. He was out. He was limited today. He was out at the end of last week because he was sick. So a lot of it will depend on how he practices. Gallagher's going to play for sure on some special teams, and he'll get in the mix offensively as well.
You know, I kind of find that, I got to tell you, I find that a little bit funny because you just said I'm not going to give you a two deep. He tells you Gallagher's hurt and he's been sick. So we got to say, I don't know. You know what? Put it out there, man. Just put it out there and go with it. There's not a big advantage. There's not a big surprise going. If Nico walks out there starting quarterback, my jaw will drop. Okay, and if Allard doesn't walk out there starting quarterback, my jaw will drop. But again, Rodney Gallagher looking like he's going to play a little bit of special teams, maybe some wide receiver, maybe get in that rotation. Good sign of a true freshman. We'll see how it handles. I mean, can you imagine going ahead and opening up as a true freshman and getting out there and being able to play at Penn State? Woo! Man, that's a lot going on in a young man's head. That is for sure. And let's see what else we got here. Let's see what's next here.
Their offense sounded like you've been practicing against it the whole time. Sounded like your offense.
Yeah, it's very similar. Yeah, backgrounds are similar. A lot of the pass concepts very similar. They've kind of grown with it too. You know, their O-line on the edges is really good. And they lost some receivers, and they lost a really good tight end from here in West Virginia as well. But they've been able to replace them. You know, I think sometimes people think of inexperience and they think, well, it's going to be a question mark. Well, I look at their wideout room and they got a lot of talent, so I don't know if I'm over there in their room, I don't think that's probably a question mark to them. And so they've got plenty. As far as plays though, what they're going to do, you know, without being exact, I think we'll be able to give our defense a pretty good look at the run and the pass concepts they're going to see.
Along those lines, is yours just offense similar to Texas and Oklahoma State's that you saw here, or is it more personnel different there?
Yeah, no, I think it's very similar. You know, when he was at Texas, his year he was at Texas, he a lot of 12 personnel. They had a good group of tight ends there, so he ran and played multiple tight ends.
A lot of tight ends. I'm going to tell you, Oklahoma State, all that with Texas, Penn State, they're going to run the ball. They're going to run it. They're going to line up in 12 personnel. They have the two tight ends. They got Theo right here. I mean, and they got Warren, right? So they got Theo Johnson, 84, huge tight end, going to be NFL. Then you got Tyler Warren, 44, 84, 44, two tight ends. They're going to line up, and they're going to feed their three running backs that each has over 800 yards. I mean, last year, you go ahead, you look at it, and You have Nicholas Singleton at 1,061 yards. You have Katron Allen, 861. And then you got Trey Potts, who has over 800 yards. They got three running backs. They have an offensive line. Now, they did lose the guy medically retired, and that, of course, is Landon Tangwall, which I'm surprised left guard. But, you know, they have some guys. They got junior transfer Shelton Drew out of there. So, you know, that might be kind of a, you know, a little kink in their armor, right? A little bit of kink in their armor. So that's a good thing. And when I talk about, so I'm going to tell you something. They're going to line up. Stop the run. If you don't stop the run, it's going to be trouble. I'm telling you right now. Okay? They don't stop the run. Sell out. Make Drew Allard, the first-time starter, beat you with receivers that are not yet proven. They may be proven one day, and they may be good on Saturday, but you know they can sure as heck run the ball. You know they can run and go in 12 personnel. Stop the run. Make them beat you with their second or third best option. That's what I have to say. And we're going to go ahead, and I have someone coming up here now, and that's Tony Altimore. I promise you I'll come here at the top of 5. Tony, are you there, buddy? I got give me a thumbs up if you're there. All right, there you are. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. But let me just tell you this about the game. Stop the run. Make Drew Allard, first-time starter, beat you. I can't say it enough. And here we go. All right. Tony, how we doing, buddy?
Doing well, thanks. Yeah.
That's great.
Hey, I wouldn't want to face Drew Allard at all. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he is good. But the running game's even better.
It is. Penn State's a pretty solid team. It's going to be quite a game.
Yeah. You want to come up with a prediction?
You know, WVU is better this year. I just don't know if they're good enough to pull this one off.
You don't think they're quite prime time yet?
You know, the hard thing for WVU is that you guys play a great old school schedule, right? I mean, you play Penn State and you play Pitt and you play Virginia Tech, and everybody else is finding. I mean, in the SEC, they're finding every orphanage south of the Mason-Dixon line or nunnery convent to fill their non-conference schedules with, and you guys have real team. I mean, Baylor plays like Albany, and you guys play Virginia Tech and Pitt, and then people are like, oh, West Virginia doesn't win. Well, yeah, if you played Albany, you'd win. Yep. So also, I wouldn't want to watch that game. So I'm kind of glad you don't play Albany because I like watching your games. But you know, it is a debatable issue back and forth.
Excellent perspective. Okay, what are we going to talk about today? A lot going on. What do you want to start off with?
Well, we got a really big day tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So tomorrow, the ACC presidents are meeting again, supposedly. It was postponed because of the shooting at North Carolina. And the ACC will decide whether or not to add Stanford, Cal, and SMU. If they do, then the ACC will go to 18 members because Notre Dame is one of the misconceptions people don't realize is Notre Dame is a full member of the ACC. They just only play half their football season there. But as far as like membership goes, it's not like West Virginia when you guys are in the Sun Belt and you like are just in the Sun Belt for soccer. Like Notre Dame is a full member of the ACC in all sports, but only half football schedule. So
yeah.
So Notre Dame's part of that. And one of the issues, so anyway, they're going to have this meeting tomorrow. People tell me, and I mean, you know, who knows, we're in a wild time. But essentially, if they don't do it tomorrow, they're probably not going to do it. So there's been lots of like delays, lots of, you know, good reasons. But it seems like if they don't do it tomorrow, then they won't do it. Now, if they do that, that leaves Oregon State and Washington State as the Pac-2. And as the Pac-2, that's not really sustainable. So they would probably... It looks like, from what we're hearing from a lot of folks who know this stuff well and are very plugged in with networks and the actual schools, it sounds like they would probably move in with the Mountain West. Now, that may take the form of the Mountain West, and that's possibly the American, but it seems like it's more likely to be the Mountain West. So that may take the form of them just joining the Mountain West, which is possible, or the Mountain West may become the new Pac 14 or, you know, whatever that would be, and take the Pac branding and the Pac intellectual property, Pac assets, maybe the Mountain West TV deal, something like that. So we'll see exactly, but tomorrow's going to be a very, very big day for whatever the future is for the Pac-4.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, listen, let me just look at this. I'm thinking, because you said Notre Dame's in there, all right, is that why they're adding 3 when you add SMU?
Yes and no. So there's a lot of questions as to why. And I don't have the ACC contracts myself. I know people that do, but I don't have them. So and unless you do, unless somebody in the chat, like if you do have the contracts, feel free to tell me I'm wrong. If you don't have the contracts, feel free to not share. But there's some complexities in the contracts, I'm told, that the ACC needs to maintain a certain number of members. So a lot of people think that it would be very advantageous of the ACC to have more than that, so that if, for example, Florida State were to leave or Clemson were to leave, they would still be above the threshold of number of schools they have to have. I don't know that that's accurate. There's a lot of talk about that on social media. A lot of that talk may or may not be from people who actually know the contract. So I will defer to the actual contract lawyers on that. But, you know, one of the big mistake the Pac made, which I have been hammering on since 2 days after USC and UCLA left, is that they needed to backfill. They needed to replace the teams that were leaving, and they farted around and did nothing. So the lesson for the ACC is you have to replace the teams that leave or that might leave. You need to make sure you have enough bulk. The other thing is that adding those 3 schools, because of how the ACC network deals are, with the cable companies, that makes Texas and California in-state ACC network carriage fees. So Comcast and Charter, whoever, the cable companies have to now pay more to the ACC network, which creates a whole bunch of more money. Yeah. And so that's a bunch more money. Now, in SMU has figured out really smartly, this is really probably their last chance to get into a major conference right now. Mm-hmm. And so their donors, and I mean, SMU donors, we're talking oil billionaires here. So the SMU donors have said, you know what? We don't need your money. Keep it. Give it to Florida State. Give it to Clemson. Throw a Rager in your parents' basement. We don't care. Just let us in.
Yes.
And not only just let us in, but then you can keep the money from our games for seven years is the thing. And you can keep all those carriage rates from being in-state in Texas. We're good. Our alumni will fund the difference. And bravo to them for doing that. It's some people don't like it, but I mean, I think it's kind of smart. Stanford, the same boat. Stanford doesn't need the money, but they need to be part of the organization. Now, one of the other really interesting twists of this that I think is interesting is some people have said, because you and I have talked a lot, and Joey and I have talked a lot. Kuz and I, we've talked about the importance that like having elite academics plays. And so some people have questioned. They've said, well, the fact that they're not jumping on Cal and Stanford, that means that doesn't matter. But I actually think it's the opposite. The fact that they are willing to do something so ridiculous as to add the San Francisco Bay to the Atlantic Coast Conference means that they're like, it'd be really nice to have Stanford and Cal and all their Stanford and Calness. Like they're going to do something ridiculous. They might, and they might not. But if they don't, it's because it is, in fact, so ridiculous to add that. And you guys at WVU, you know that because you've been flying back and forth for everything constantly, and it just got worse for you guys. So,
yeah,
that is the one factor to think about is, guys, if they do add it, if they do add them, it's because they wanted Stanford and Cal and all the hoopla that comes with that. It's not because this was a move that made logistical sense.
Well, you're right about that. Let me ask you this, though. But let's go back to that SMU thing, and then what they're saying is their last chance. To me, it's all about this relativity. It's
Yes.
not about the 5 to 7 years. That's what I keep telling to
And relevance.
Yes, being relevant, and it's more important than money right now to a rich school. Okay, that West Virginia could not do that. Well, all right, that's okay. Most schools couldn't do that, but an SMU that is desperate to get in there, of all universities that understands about relativity, SMU understands, and they know what it's like to not have that,
And to be cast out with the back trash.
And that's the truth. And you have to wonder how Washington State, Oregon State are feeling right now.
Well, and especially Washington State. Washington State has had financial issues for a while. Like they're actually in really bad financial situation right now, like budget wise. So, you know, you look at them and I feel my heart is breaking for their fans. Now, the president caused a little of this, so you can't feel too bad for him in some ways. But for their fans, my heart just breaks because they are going to have trouble sort of like staying relevant. Now, I mean, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to build a plan to keep that relevancy. So, you know, they need to play big teams in their non-conference games, and they need to win. And they're going to have to take a, you know, different philosophy to a lot of their scheduling. Now, that's not impossible. And in fact, in the case of Washington State and Oregon State, here's the real secret tale. They've done this before. Because we talked about in 1957, they got the boot when the PCC schools created the new Pac-12 and wanted nothing to do with them. And they said, you're bad, you mooch off our money, you don't have stadiums, because they used to have to play Washington State at a high school stadium in Spokane. You know, they played Oregon and Oregon State at a baseball stadium in Portland. So I mean, they were cast off before 60 years ago. And they said, okay, we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to win. And you know what Oregon State did? They went and stole UCLA's assistant coach, Tommy Protho, who built them into a powerhouse. And they won a Heisman. People forget this. Yeah. They won a Heisman before USC. And that Heisman player also helped lead them to the Final Four. So Oregon State, while in exile, got themselves a Heisman and a Final Four until then, you know, and built a new stadium, which they just renovated recently, but they built it, you know, as part of this whole thing. Like, okay, Pac, we're sorry. We screwed up before. Now we're back. And they got into the Pac-12. So there is a formula that literally those two schools wrote on how to get back to relevancy.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, and SMU, to their credit, they have been bringing it back slowly. I mean, that was a death sentence now. I mean, it doesn't get more dead than what they were, and for the opportunities that they have. So, again, West Virginia understands this. When Syracuse, Pitt, Virginia Tech all rolled to the ACC, West Virginia's like, hey, where are you guys going? You know, hey, brothers, right? Where are you going? Especially Virginia Tech, we helped them get to the Big East. So West Virginia is no stranger to being left behind.
Well, and they did this before, too. So back in from the 30s through the 50s, in West Virginia, I think was part of the ECAC, too. But all of the Eastern schools, there was this thing called the ECAC.
Yeah.
And they would call it the Eastern Conference. And they all pretended they were independents. And it was this stupid structure set up by the Ivy League schools because they didn't want anyone to ever be able to tell them what to do. And so they set up this whole structure. There were 280 colleges in it. And West Virginia and Syracuse and Boston College and Pitt and Temple and all of them were in it. And they were all really being bossed around by the Ivy League schools in this stupid semi-conference. They had 4 NCAA berths for the basketball tournament among this giant conference. But this whole thing was set up by the Ivy League schools just for the Ivy League schools to have what they wanted. And then in 1950, 52 to 54, sort of in there, Penn got mouthy. They had a big fight, and Penn said, well, if you're not going to be a conference, they ended up creating the Ivy League. And those 8 schools pieced out and left everybody else with this mess that they had created. So, you know, again, it's poor West Virginia has been left behind multiple times through other schools, you know, kind of being jerky about it. Like West Virginia has always been the ultimate team player in this. So like, you know, I hate it for West Virginia. I hated it for Syracuse. I mean, Syracuse, in all honesty, if Syracuse and Penn State and Pitt, I mean, they tried to form conferences multiple times.
Yeah.
They tried to form conference in the 50s. They tried to form conferences. They tried to get together with the pre-PAC schools and Notre Dame and the academies. They were going to call it the airplane conference. They kept trying to form conferences and it got sabotaged. I think that West Virginia, Syracuse, Pitt, BC would all be way ahead of where they would be today if not for that. And other schools people forget about, Fordham, Georgetown, Holy Cross. These were football powers at that time. And when the Ivy League pieced out and left them with a mess, I mean, Fordham, Holy Cross, Fordham, Holy Cross was a huge game. Like that was like New York rocking.
Right.
And now it's not, now it's like, you know, nothing.
You know, when I played at West Virginia, you know, it's so funny because I was all first team. 2 years I was all independent team, right? Well, I got this thing. It said first team ECAC. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, so the ECAC is still technically there. Yeah.
It's a true story. I had no idea. I said, I thought we were independent. You know, we called it the East, but it really wasn't the official Big East yet.
The whole reason is because mostly Harvard, Princeton, and Yale didn't ever want anyone to tell them what to do. So they created a conference that wasn't a conference, so they could all call themselves independents. And then when Penn started to get really good, and Penn wanted to play Notre Dame. Then they told Penn, well, you can't do that. And Penn said, well, we're independents. We'll do what we want. We'll play Notre Dame. And by the way, are you anti-Catholic? And they were like, ah! So then they had this huge fight. Oh, because the president of Penn thought he should be president of the United States. He ran for president of the United States 8 times. So the president of Penn was, more than anyone else in the history of the Ivy League, did not give a hoot what Harvard thought. Yeah. And in fact, one time said something to the effect, he said something in the paper, the athletic director from Harvard tried to boss him around. And he said, what did you think of what so-and-so said? And the reporter goes, who is that? And they said like, oh, that's the athletic director from Harvard. He said, so, I don't remember the exact quote, but he was something like, oh, I don't know. I don't deal with staff or something like that. And so the final like coming together is the only way they could keep Penn from, and the funny thing is, they used to say Penn was catching Big Ten-itis. And they did not say it like it's a good thing. Now, if you catch Big Ten-itis, it's a good thing. But they did not feel like that was a good thing. And so the way that they prevented Penn's Big Ten-itis was to create the Ivy League. And then they just left West Virginia and Syracuse and Fordham and Pitt and everybody with the carcass of the mess that they'd created. And it took them 20 years before they could get the Big East going.
Wow. You know, okay. So that's interesting. Let's take those lessons now and apply them out to the Mountain West Conference or maybe the AAC. I mean, is there something there that could go, you know, East and West or come together? Or does it have to be, you know, Oregon State, Washington have to go into the Mountain West? I mean, what's the mixture there? Is there anything that's popping up?
Well, the real problem that you have now is you get a balance between you know, how much extra relevancy do you get at what travel cost? Mm-hmm. Because the good thing about the Mountain West, which is part of why some of the teams from the Mountain West 2 years ago didn't leave to join the AAC, is the Mountain West has they got a great culture. The Mountain West has really good schools too. The Mountain West has 4 or 5 state flagship schools. Yeah. You know, the University of New Mexico and the University of, and you guys at West Virginia know how important that is.
Right.
And the AAC schools are not like that. So, you know, the thing about the Mountain West is actually like Oregon and Oregon State, which are great schools, fit really well with the Mountain West is really good schools.
Yeah.
And so you just don't always think about them in the East Coast, but they're state flagship schools with the doctors and the lawyers and everything else. So those they do fit really well there. It's also a lot easier travel. So if for example the AAC gets an extra $2 million a year over the Mountain West or whatever, is that worth now your volleyball team is having to fly from Washington State to play Temple? You know, you start, you know, in East Carolina. that all of a sudden starts to get really hard, or are they just flying to play Nevada? So it's a lot. It really depends. Is it that much better to play East Carolina and UAB and Temple?
Yeah.
Than it is to play Nevada and all. And the other thing that has yet to be seen is, remember, the AAC in our minds had a lot more strong teams. If the AAC is now lost to 5 teams or whatever, 4 teams, if they lose SMU, UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati,
wow,
it's not the same AAC.
No, it's not.
Well, and there, by the way, you also forget 2 gems, who I think belong in the ACC along with West Virginia, Memphis and UConn. UConn's in the Big East, but like those are sort of sitting there. And you got a lot of questions. And the thing is too, for Oregon State and Washington State, which again, they did before, is okay. If you just focus on relevancy, can you do well enough that you matter? And under the new playoff structure, the best, there's going to be at least 1 slot for the best of the other conference champions to be guaranteed. And so, could you get into the playoffs there? You might argue you can get into the playoffs better there than you could, being added to the Big 12.
Right. That's my question too, is about Memphis. Is there a gem? And they're not in anybody's conversation.
I don't understand. So, the Big 12 was looking at Brett Yormark flew to Memphis and met with, I don't know if he met with trustees or it was with Fred Smith. I don't know exactly who he met with, but there was a huge drama because then the Big 12 denied it. But the Memphis people, like, it was in the papers, like he was there meeting with their people. Like, I think he went to the Liberty Bowl. I don't know all the details of exactly where they went, but they were in town, like having their due diligence meetings with Memphis, and then denied it, which is really weird because Memphis is a great school. Memphis has great fans. Memphis would have if they joined the Big 12, for example, Memphis, I think, would have they'd have the second largest basketball arena in the Big 12. And I think the 4th largest football stadium or something. Don't quote me. I don't remember exactly what it was. It's big and it's a great school. It's an R1 school, just like WVU. And, also, by the way, geographically would unite the Big 12 in a lot of ways, but they haven't been down for it. I think it's silly.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
I did too, man. And, all right. So is there any way they can revive that Pac-12? Is there any way they could, or Pac-10, whatever, anything they can do to say, forget about Mountain West and bring in anything? San Diego State obviously had some great opportunities. There are schools that could make a difference.
There are. And the question I think is going to come is, there's 2 sort of questions there. So we'll look at it in our 2 sections. The first one is, like we talked about, they could, for example, bring in the Mountain West and sort of take over the Pac branding. And I feel like to folks like you and me and anybody who's watching this channel, you guys are so into football that you're not going to be fooled. But the general world of the audience, the general world will the Pac brand does mean a lot more. Right. So that's one way. So you may see the brand survive being absorbed into the Mountain West and sort of changing the name. The airlines do that, right? They buy each other and just keep the better name. Yeah. US Air bought American and they kept the American name.
Yeah.
So we may see something like that. Or if tomorrow doesn't go well for Stanford and Cal, if the ACC, if sanity prevails, again, I think they should take them. But if the ACC finally says, you know what? No.
Okay.
The San Francisco Bay is not in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Because remember, the other thing with the ACC is that, quite honestly, let's be honest about the ACC. You guys know the ACC. If they could just keep it in Tobacco Road, they probably would.
Yeah, no.
Just some basketball in Tobacco Road, they're happy. No, I'm ACC friends, I'm teasing you. But the thing about the ACC is that they're not as manifest destiny, we want to conquer the West as some of these other conferences are. So if they don't do that, then now you're left with a very unhappy marriage here of Stanford, Cal, Oregon State, and Washington State, and they're going to have to do something. And what it looks like what they would probably try to do there is bring in immediately, maybe like 4 teams from the American, and then maybe a year later bring in a couple teams from the Mountain West. And I mean, that would be a pretty cool conference, right? If you had Stanford, Cal, and by the way, remember, Stanford and Cal used to be pretty good, and they're on track to build their. Stanford's going to be awful this year, but their program is like on track. Their recruiting is booming. They're on track to fix it. But this year is going to be ugly. So you had Stanford, Cal, Wazoo, Oregon State, maybe I don't know, Memphis, Colorado State, Tulane, and pick another one. Lots of debate who the other ones would be. And then a year later, you added San Diego State and Air Force, and I mean, that'd be a great conference. So maybe they'll do that. We'll see.
Right? Did you include SMU in that?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. SMU would be, of course, part of that because SMU would not have gotten into the ACC with them. So they'd be there, too.
Yeah.
Maybe UTSA. I mean, lots of probably Rice. Stanford would probably want Rice. So you'd have a lot of options, and it would be a pretty cool conference.
Well, it would be entertaining. That would be true. And more is better.
Right. Oh, Mike points out. Thank you, Mike. You're right. Fresno would be another great one.
Fresno. Now, why would Fresno be a great one? Because that surprises me.
So here's where people get mad at me for this. So I've said, you can see the Twitter posts on this from 2 days after USC and UCLA left. I always believed that the Pac should add Fresno since USC and UCLA left, and I think that for a couple reasons. One, because Fresno is a good team who beats teams. I mean, going back to forever, Fresno. Oh, thank you, Tim. That's really nice of you. Thank you, Timothy. Fresno goes and finds a way to beat teams. Second, Fresno has a lot of fans. They've got, they fill that stadium. Their fans travel. They call it the Red Wave. Uh-huh. So, go Fresno. They're great in that. The other thing about Fresno is that it is a flag in the state of California. And I don't trust Stanford. So if I was one of these, I would not trust Stanford to not wheedle its way into the Big Ten. I don't know how they haven't yet wheedled their way into the Big Ten. But I would think that Stanford will at some point absolutely try to wheedle their way into the Big Ten. So I want that extra anchor in the state of California with San Diego State, with Fresno State, maybe with Cal, so that it is a stronger base in the state, because that's where the money is. That's where the TV markets are. I really think that. Now, the thing about Fresno is that it's a commuter school. It's not really a commuter school, but it's not a big research institution. Fresno only does like 15 million or 9 million or something a year in research. It's just not what they do.
Right.
It's a great ag school. It's a great school for teachers, engineers, accountants, whatever. I mean, that's what they do. That's what the purpose of the school is. And so to Stanford and Cal, they kind of look at that and are like, oh, well, you're not really part of our club. Well, guess what? Your club has left for other conferences. Your choices are limited. And here's a great team who's close by you in a big market with lots of fans who wins. Okay. And to me, that's you need to bite the bullet, and you got to make some sacrifices. I mean, Air Force. I don't even think Air Force has grad students. That's another one. Yeah, Air Force doesn't do grad research, but you know what? Air Force's daddy, the government, pays for all of your research, so that's fine.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so let's move this on and turn this down. I want to know, what's UCLA and USC doing? And we'll just talk briefly about the game last week at USC. But what are they doing? What's their approach right now, knowing that they're moving to the Big Ten? How do people feel out there? What's the press rating?
So USC people are over the moon. They're excited about it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they're and the schools, by the way, are doing all sorts of integration and logistics planning for this. And USC and now Washington and Oregon are rapidly trying to catch up. Although Washington was not aided by USC stealing Washington's AD to now run USC, but that's the way it goes. So they're getting ready for that. Both teams are looking pretty solid this year. We're not sure what we're going to see at quarterback for UCLA. They've already announced they're playing all 3 of them in game 1. So we'll see. But they have a pretty soft schedule. I mean, it's not like, they didn't like do badly. Just sort of the way the dice have rolled in the rotations of the schedule.
Sometimes
I think. Yeah, I don't think they play Washington or Oregon. Maybe.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, well, there was always a weird thing in the pack schedules where the deal when they created divisions was they would split the California schools into the separate divisions, but the California schools always had to play each other.
Yeah.
So you play the way the California schools worked is you play your 5 teams in your division and the 2 California schools, and then 2 of the others. And everybody else has always rolled their eyes because it always means that somebody has a harder schedule and somebody has a softer schedule, and it's just the way it goes. But UCLA has the softer schedule in that, so they may have a really good year, and we'll see as we get to know more about them. USC has a very backloaded schedule. So USC has a pretty soft schedule the first half of the year and a really tough schedule in the second half of the year. So you may also see USC doing more things like playing more guys, letting it up more, putting the backups in more. I mean, we saw that last week. They played, 25 guys on offense and like 35 guys on defense or something. Just ridiculous because they're getting more people in, getting more playing time, seeing how combos go. They almost have, it's like they have an NFL preseason.
Well, and then obviously when you got the quarterback could possibly go Heisman two years in a row, that doesn't hurt, man.
And you have a backup who looked just as good as he did as well. So we'll take that.
Well, I guess you're pretty excited about that and all that. I just wonder, like recruiting wise, everybody's on board going to the Big Ten. Nobody's got an issue out there being on the ocean and moving to the interior.
Oh, not only that, it's a recruiting boost.
Boost, okay.
Yeah, because they're going to play on national TV and ESP on CBS and on NBC and on Fox. And I mean, the thing about, this as a football player, right? Like they don't want to play, they don't want to play Nevada on the Pac-12 network. They want to play Ohio State on NBC.
Yeah.
At night with the whole country watching. So they're excited about it. That was actually a huge driver in how UCLA got their 5-star quarterback out of Detroit was, hey, we're live on the beach, play in the Big Ten. It's hard to beat that.
Yeah, and that goes back to, you look at Nebraska when they were in the Big 8, they got all their players, or they're really good players, a lot of them out of Texas, because Texas, it was a pipeline, but they'd always see them. And I mean, that's the way it is. You see Detroit coming out there. Yeah. All right, man. Let's talk about USC. Are they going to be the best team in the Pac-12 by far?
We hope so. We'll see. I believe so, but I believe that when we had losing records too. So that's why I don't bet on USC, because I love them too much, so I don't bet on them. They will have a really good team. The real question is, how much has the defense improved from last year? Mm-hmm. I think it's better. They haven't really shown it with the fans want to see, right? It's almost like when you tell your kids to stop doing something, you want them to stop doing it now. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like, USC's been like, we want them to tackle. We want them to tackle now. We want to win this game 63-7. And so, winning it, what was it, 56-28 did not go over well with the fan base. Like I said, they were treating it as a preseason game. It looked like a preseason game. Your real question will come as they start to play some of these Pac-12 teams, and we'll see, is it getting better?
All right, Tony. Anything else you want to add to the cause for the better?
Hey, good luck to the Mountaineers this weekend. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, man, it's going to be fun. All right. It's, you know what? Like you said, you want to play on national TV? It's national TV. It's nighttime. It's Penn State. Well, I can remember when I played, man. We played on those games, and they were pretty wild, man. Pretty wild.
It's going to be fun.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Doug. Hey, let's go. At TJ Altimore. You follow him on Twitter. I'm telling you, man, Tony knows things that other people don't know about football. You just heard it right there. Every time I talk to you, man,
thanks.
It's
always fun.
All right. Great times. Thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you soon.
We'll see you later. Fight on, guys.
Fight on, right on. Fight on and right on with Tony Altimore. You find him there at TJ Altimore on Twitter. Follow him. His tweets are excellent. His knowledge, man, it's just knowledge based. And, I just think that it's so important. So important to understand. So, but you know what he understands? Is he knows the history. And he knows about repeating. And history repeating, and some of you don't know it. And they did. The Pac-12 did it. All right. And he continues. And it's excellent. I love having him. He's a big part of this show. And I love having him. And, he's involved with college football, the Voice of College Football Network, Mark Rogers, and that's where we got him from, and Joey and all those guys. So happy with that. So happy about that. And let's hear with Abby here. Let's get this Parmar in.
Hi, I'm Abby Pearson from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and when I'm back home, you will find me at my local Parmar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Parmar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Parmar app and sign up for the Parmar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Parmar stores.
If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
All righty. How about predictions, people? You got any predictions you want to put out there? Any predictions? Penn State, WVU, this is your opportunity. I just dropped the link. You can come on right now. You can go ahead and get your predictions out there. Remember, on Saturday, we have the WolfMan's Call pregame special at the Pallet Bar. 6 o'clock is a broadcast. Come in before that at the Pallet Bar if you're going to go there. Also on the network of the restaurants and bars, and on the Voice of College Football in West Virginia. All right, Mike Rollins, you're saying, all right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put this up. This is good. Put up your scores, your predictions. 35-32 WVU over Pennsylvania State. And I can see the shot there. I'll tell you what, Mike, that would be a great score. That's a defense that has never really gone ahead and given up that many points. Although the offense contributed last year, Ohio State had scored more a couple times. But it's a tough defense to score 32 or to score 35 on. So that would be something special if they went ahead and did that. That would be impressive. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you've been in all summer long, Mike. You've been in all summer long saying it. So I'm going to give you your credit, and I will not even at all rip on you if that does or does not happen, because you're a true believer. Very nice believer. Anyone else? Give me another score. Oh, you laughed. Oh, Timothy Green, 38-35. What's up with the field goal? Like, you think it's going to be a nail biter? Coming to 38-35. Does that mean 38-35? So that's what? I got to add that up now, doggone it. 68-5, that's 73 points. That's over the over now. That's a lot of points right there, and Mike's smiling at him. All right. Okay, there you go. I'm going to put it up here just so we can remember this, that it's official, and this is what you get here. And Mike said, Mike Rollins, all right. Last second field goal. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now. I have the pregame special, and I don't know how many people are going to be watching that because, you get going, and you got pregames, you got parties here. Hopefully you go to one of the networks and watch it, or you watch it right on the Voice of College Football YouTube. But this is what I see. This is how I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this. And I'm going to put it real simple. I'm not going to get in the weeds. I'm not going to bring down the stats. Stats don't matter right now. It really doesn't. Stats don't matter. Right now, this is just calling it from what I see it. All right? For West Virginia to win up there at Penn State, West Virginia has to really play mistake-free football. I didn't say perfect. Nobody plays perfect. But mistake-free. You can't give Penn State a short field. They have too many advantages. Home field, crowd noise, crowd factor, older guys, even some in some areas more talented guys. There's factors there. So for a team that's an underdog, and they should be underdogs, and 20 points, that's a lot. That's a lot of points. That does not look good for the respect that West Virginia's getting. So I want to see West Virginia come out offensively. All right. I talked a little bit about this yesterday. I want to see them come out and attack this Penn State defense tactically. You heard what I just said? Tactically. Meaning is that in their game plan, they want to keep this Penn State defense guessing. Again, you can put in high percentage passing plays on first down. You can mix and you can roll. Offensively, you can go out there and get in their way. C.J. Donaldson, he's a beast. How about Triple J's, Justin Johnson Jr., jump cut Johnson, right? How about that? How about, you got Jaheim White up there to slot, some freshman coming in. Who knows? Maybe he won't even be affected knowing how big the game is. Sometimes you got to realize how big a game is and the atmosphere. Sometimes you're a freshman, you don't even know. You just go out there and you're playing. So maybe sometimes that's an advantage. But regardless, I think that Cole Taylor, tight end, especially down in the red zone, he's got to be a factor. You got to use that 6'7" long arms. You got to use that for an advantage. And the receivers, I'm going to say it right now. Carter. He's got to make sure I got it right here, man, and get the names right here because I keep saying Devin Carter. All right. He needs to play big. He needs to be open. There needs to be a wide receiver that's going to step up. Of course, you got in the slots, you got Jeremiah Aaron, who's a junior college transfer. Junior college transfers, usually they take a year to really get better. So and then, of course, you have Cortez, right? You got that. So, again, these guys are junior college, step up, and there's really not a whole lot of productivity other than that right there for wide receivers. So, again, Penn State's kind of in the same boat, but offensively, you got to win in the run game, but you got to be smart in the game. You got to win first downs. I said it yesterday. I am convinced first downs are the key. And for that to happen, you got to keep them guessing. Manny Diaz is going to test you. Manny Diaz is going to bring some heat. And quarterbacks, Garrett Green in there, Nico Markio. You're going to have to be smart here. I think RPOs could be really big here. I think if the game plan is really try to take advantage of what they're giving you. Try to, whatever advantage you can take, RPOs has to play a major role in this, in my opinion, because if you don't know what they're going to give you, and with Manny Diaz, and he wants to bring the heat, if you see that, man, you got to recognize that, and you got to see where the openings are and attack those openings. Because when you bring it, man, you're leaving something undefended. That's the whole point. When you go ahead and they give you something, you got to take that over there. You got to be able to respond. And so knowing that is, I think, run-pass options are going to be really big for the Mountaineer offense. Offensive line. You have your hands. You're supposed to be really good. You're supposed to be really good offensive line. So Zach Frazier, Doug Nestor, and you got Wyatt Milam. Guys, it's time. It's time for you guys to shine, and it's that time. It's no other time than now than the present. No bigger moment in any of your careers. Right here, center stage. All these guys got aspirations going up to the next level. Well, you're playing against next level talent. So this is your opportunity to show that you can hang or be better than this next level talent that's across from you. It's a showcase. It's a showcase for you. Yes, you're there for the team. Yes, you're there winning, but it's also for you, man. It's also that for you. Don't think that that's not important. It is important, and it's about pride and maintaining, but for the team, but also individually, because that's your motivation, right? That's your motivation, competitiveness. You're there to compete. And when you want to compete against the best, you just heard Tony, right? Saying who wants to go ahead on national TV or play, Nevada, the Pac-12 network, or play national TV against Ohio State. Yeah, that's what you're looking for. This is your opportunity. Right? Seize it. Seize the opportunity. Zach Frazier, man, I love you, young brother. I love you. I always have. Seize the opportunity. Help your brothers. Help your brothers. If it seems like things are coming against you and the wave is going against you, stand strong. Stand strong and help and hang on and clutch, because there's going to be some bad moments in the game. There's going to be some bad times. How do you weather the storm? And if you can go ahead and minimize the damage of those bad storm moments, that's the key. That is the key. Defensively, know what you're doing. Know what you're doing. Guys that haven't played a lot, Mike Lockhart, okay? You got Eddie Vestinarian. You guys were backups mainly last year, getting 15, 20 reps, 25 reps a game. Yes. And, Sean Martin, big game from you. But you need to come out and you need to play strong. These are big offensive linemen. You need to play physical. You need to play hard, because you're going to run the ball. That's going to tire you out, because you're going to run and keep coming and coming. And you have to play smart, and you have to be gap conscious. Whatever your assignment is, I wouldn't even say gap, whatever your assignment conscious is you have to fill that. And if you're moving like they like to do so much, Jordan Leslie likes to move all that, all right? If you move there, then get there. Don't be the weak link and not get there. And if you're supposed to cover up a lineman so it doesn't get to Lee Colba, right? Then cover up the lineman. That's how you have to play to win at Happy Valley. That's how you got to understand. 11 people, 11 brothers, 11 Mountaineer brothers, all right, going out on that field, hanging together, because you know what? There's about 100,000 right next to you that aren't there with you. So you got to hang together with your teammates and out in that field. And you got to feel like you're playing against the world, man. Playing against the world. Shine. It's your opportunity. You wanted to play Division I football. You wanted to play Power 5. This is your opportunity. There's not been any 5 games beforehand, so you're beat up. This is it. Opener. You only have to play them once. This year. One big game. One time. Go out there and you can go ahead and stun them. Play smart. Physical. Neil Brown said this is the most physical camp that they've had since he's been here. Excellent. Let's see if they are tackle callous. I see, Mike Brown said, yeah, they got to tackle. You better tackle these backs. These running backs. If you don't tackle them, they're going to run right through your arm tackles. If you don't run your feet through them, they're going to run right through you. Yeah, they will, because you know why? Because they're that good. They showed it last year. So don't sit there and come out and say, man, well, I tell you what, I didn't tackle good or whatever, because you got to tackle them to stay in this game. You do. And that's what I'm talking about, is you stay together and you help each other offensively, defensively. And then let's not forget special teams. Pin them back, Mr. Straw. Put them back there. Pin them down there, so they always have a long field. Get some turnovers on special teams. Find that ball. Find a way. Last year, very few turnovers on anywhere for the defense or special teams. Very few. Find a way to get that ball. Change the momentum of the game. Momentum swings are going to be huge. Huge. I told you about weathering the storms. Momentum swings are huge. You have to be smart. You have to be physical. You have to execute. Don't worry about the crowd noise. Be above the crowd noise. Be able to think. Be able to execute above the distractions of Happy Valley, above distractions of competing with some really, honestly, great talent. Great talent. Only way you're going to go ahead and do that to win this game. Only way is if you come together as a team and you play as few mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Every team's going to make mistakes. Can you make less than Penn State? Can you take advantage? What happens if you do get a turnover? Do you put points on that turnover? That's what I'm talking about. Can you go ahead and put points on that? Can you play smart enough to go ahead and be in the right spot at the right time to make a tackle, or be in the right spot at the right time to make a block, or that run to make that defensive player miss, or to make that throw to the receiver, and the receiver's running routes? Doesn't matter that they're not tested except for Carter for the most part. Okay, Cortez, all that. Okay, it's your turn. It's your time. It's your time to stand up. It's your time to make plays. There's no more excuses, no more nothing. West Virginia, you don't want to sit there. If you don't want to sit and be like, we're 14th in the Big 12, if you want some respect, if you don't want to be laughed at, then you got to go out there and play your heart out. You got to play your heart out. And you got to leave it on the field. And you got to leave it with blood, with nastiness. Some saliva spitting all around. And spitting in there, like spitting out and crazy because you're hitting them so hard. It'll be like, at every play is pound, pound, pound. Every time you pound. You don't ever give up. You never give up. I don't care what the score is. You keep getting up off the ground. Because that's what Mountaineers do. Not saying you win every single time, because we know that's not true. But they get up off the ground and they play and they put that WV right there. They take that WV and they wear it with pride. And they fight. They fight like no freaking other dog. They fight. You can do all that and play smart. And keep that emotion and not go crazy and lose your mind. Well, then you have a chance. Then you have a chance to go ahead and do something really special in front of the largest crowd, live crowd, on national TV and shock the world. Or at least the country, and make those Penn Staters' jaws drop and wink at them on the way out and act like you knew you were there because you knew you could get them. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Yeah, man. Woo! All right. Let's go, Mountaineers. Hey, let's go pregame special. Right here. I got to get my... Man, don't lose your head, man. Don't lose your head, right? That's what I'm saying. Oh, Lord, thank you for me being who I am, because I don't think anyone else would be able to handle me besides myself. All right, let's go. We're going to close it out. We're going to do a good job here, and we're going to finish strong, because that's what we do. We finish strong because we're Mountaineers. Let's bring it. There we go. Cantrell's River City Grill and Pub, Hinton, West Virginia, man, right on the river there. Pre-game special 6 to 7. Buy a pint. They're going to give you one for free. Very cool. 6 to 7 for the WolfMan's call pregame special. Got to love it. Calacino's down there. Pizzeria and Sports Bar. Been sharing all this stuff on Facebook. I'm part of this network. It's happy to, proud to. Calacino's down in Beckley, West Virginia. They got specials going on. Whatever it is, you're Beckley, go to Calacino's. Route 22 Sports Bar. I'll tell you what, man, up there in Weirton, West Virginia. Yeah, you know, it's happening there. 12 50-inch screen TVs all together. I don't even know I can't even multiply that much, but I know that's big. We want to watch the Mountaineers. Go there, man. Route 22 Sports Bar. Archies, right there in enemy territory. You got to love it, man. Got to love it. Dude, stand up there. He's a beacon of light in a whole thing of darkness, if you know what I mean. All right, Archies up there, love it. That's Mike Manning there, Aaron Gizzy, legends out there, Cheat Lake, West Virginia, Lakeview, and go hit those links. Go play links. Watch the game later and watch it at Legends Sports Bar and Grill. Danny's down in Princeton. What's up, Paige? All right, I know you guys are out there. You got a big thing going there for the pregame as well. Let's go. Let's watch it right here in the WolfMan's call. Get there. Go to Danny's down in Princeton. Kegler Sports Bar and Grill. Yeah, man. Right on. You know it's WVU royalty. It's going to be a packed house there. I already know that. You got Jerry, Greg, and Steve Lorenz. You got Dougie. They're going to be busy at Royalty Kegler Sports Bar and Grill. Mason Jar Saloon and Hotspot in Morgantown. And we've got brand new owners. Keep it rolling there. Make sure you go in there because apparently they're going to have incredible food to carry on from what Steve Reese has done moving on. Steve Reese moving on to the Mason Jar Barbecue and More down in Fairmont. So excited about that. And, of course, you got Jimbo's and Elkins and Jimbo's and Buckhannon. So nice they did it twice, right? I like that. I like that. There you go, Jimmy Pointer. And appreciate you guys there. And the pitch, boy, I tell you what, I shared on Facebook today the pitch. Another sports bar and grill in Dunbar, West Virginia. Oh, some prime rib. Ooh, boy, that looks so good. And then down in Brickside Bar and Grill with Rob Davis down there in Bridgeport. Yeah, man. Eat locally, great food, great stuff on tap. All there for you for the pregame and all there for you for the game. Go watch it here. Oh, hey, Mel, sorry, shout out. It's got Country Roads Trust students. Pregame is right there for the game, so make sure you go to the Mountaineer Tap House. And let's see what else. Oh, the Pallet. The Pallet. That's where I'm going to be. Scott Depot, West Virginia. You know, shout out to everybody down there. Hope to see you. We're going to be rock and rolling 6 o'clock. We'll go a little bit past 7. We're going to have Al Johnson's going to come in, give his thoughts, and we're going to break it down. Analytics, cover 2 data. We're going to be covering all of that. Putting the film breakdown, cover 2 analytics, and Wolfman, me. That's right. There may be a man named Reno. I don't know if, and we'll see. I think the Ranger's going to be around there too as well. So big things happening. We got to get out of here now. It's Thursday. Saturday is the pregame. And every Friday after the Saturday, we were going to go and we're going to have a game film breakdown. And it's Plants Law and it's Davis Law. Plants and Davis legal attorneys down there in Charleston. Mark Plants, former fullback. All right. And you got Kevin Davis, you know, lawyers, etc. Big time, man. They're supporting it. So on Fridays, film breakdown game, it's Plants and Davis legal team. Your first defense, baby. Yeah. Love Plancy. Okay. Anybody else? Anyone else, man? All right. That's it. So let's go ahead. I think it's time for Zach Frazier. Go ahead, Zach. Let's get out here, man, and get it going. Who's fired up? I am. I'm fired up. I will see you, hopefully, on the network or in person at the Pallet Bar at 6 o'clock. There we go.
Hi, I'm Zach Frazier from Fairmont, and when I'm back home, you'll find me at my local Parmar store.
We had that gold and blue pride at your local Parmar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Parmar app and sign up for the Parmar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Parmar stores.
If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
Northern Eagle Distributing, proudly serving Anheuser-Busch products to West Virginia. Stationers, #1 office supplier in West Virginia, always in stock. How many? The anywhere, anytime chargers, powering a connected world. Never buy AA batteries again. Rechargeable 500 times plus. Paul Mini AA USB lithium battery, as easy to charge as your cell phone. Sustainable energy. Stay charged. Go green, save green. Feel the power of Paul. Order now at paulmini.com.
West Virginia United.